let's continue more in this Python programming, and then let's come to a point where we want to not put the values. Instead, we want to ask the user to input their own values. So how do we do that is, since we are trying to give an input to this, so naturally that first thing that would come into my mind is there is a command maybe that takes an input, of course. So let's do that. How about I write something like input and followed by a parenthesis. And similarly, input followed by parenthesis. Now to check if the value has already been assigned to it, we can just remove these comments and then see if the values that we are trying to give has been assigned or not. Let's see. Let's run this code. Now, since there's nothing being displayed, but since we have used input command, so it's gonna be asking you what's the input. So let's say I put one value and press enter. So it gives me an output of A, which is stored in A. Again, let me put a value which is like 2, and it gives me output 2. Now let's make it a little more intuitive so you are able to understand what we are trying to do. So let's put some comments inside it so you know, okay, so enter the first number, just like you when you use a GUI platform, when you use any software. So you basically have come across a question that enter username or enter password. Something like that we can also do by putting double quotes here and asking enter first number. And the same we can just copy here and paste here. And we have to put that into double quotes and replace this by second. As soon as we run that, you can see this comment being seen on the console. So let's see this. So enter first number, I'm gonna enter 1. So it prints the second line, A. Enter second number, I'm gonna print 2, and it will run, and let's see, runs, okay? So does that seem so difficult about getting started with a programming language? Any feedback regarding till now? Does it seems like, oh, that's something like we don't know and this bit difficult, or we are not really able to understand? Yeah, I would like to hear from the audience. Okay, someone says, no, that seems a bit easy. Great, thumbs up. Okay, let's move ahead with this programming and perform some operations over this input device, input things. Now, if you have come across, if you know fundamental of mathematics, you must have known there are something like integers, whole number, your rational numbers, etc. All these things. So in mathematics, we call them as the data type, basically in programming that we name it as. So it's basically defines what type of input or what type of value that we are assigning or we are going to perform some operation on. If you remember when we first spoke about our first statement, I asked you about how do you assign a integer value to a variable A. So you guys told me about 45. So that means this is your integer value. And how can you check in Python? You can do it by using type command. So it's more like English. So the type and of what? A. And you can perform this print operation and you can see the result being pasted on this console. So I'm gonna, since the program runs line by line, please note that this is an interpreter language. That means the program line runs first this statement. If this runs fine, it runs second. Since this is commented, that means it won't be running, and then it goes to third line and so on. So first number 1 and second number 3, and you can see that it's a class of integer. I will tell you about in next further classes about what is class, how to initiate it, what is the benefit of class, but as of now you can see that this has shown that it's an integer value. But let's just see what, let's remove this line and check what is the type of the variable that we have taken as an input. So let's edit something and you can have this right away like that. Next thing again, let's print this and then we're good to go. And let's check. Enter first number 3 and you can see it's a class of string. That's a bit important to note about. 5, you have string class. Now let's come to the topic of data types in your Python. Python has fundamentally few data types, which is like your integer denoted by int, you have string denoted by str, you have float, you have other data types like boolean, etc. So here we have string. So let's just do one thing. Let's try to add the two data types, which is like string and string. Let's try to add these values. How does it happen? Let's say, how do we add A plus B? And since we want to bring the output online, what you can do is you can perform print and then you can put the parenthesis and let's see what's the output is. Run. It asks me enter the first number. I'm gonna add 5. Please make sure you have a close look at these inputs. So I have the first variable as 5. Now it says that it's a string class. Now second number will be 0. So let's see the output. So it is 50. And any sane person would tell this is not what exactly 5 plus 0 means like. That means here I come to the next concept, which is called your string concatenation.